adapted from the Latin word gratitudinem, which means thankfulness. Gratitude is to express deep, reciprocal appreciation for kindness received. When Christians talk about how to become more like Jesus, a lot of disciplines come up. Things like prayer, Bible reading, and community. What doesn't come up enough, and might have a big impact as you can imagine, is developing an attitude of gratitude. And we hear that around here a fair amount, often in the evening service as well. So to cultivate this attitude of gratitude can involve the discipline of Bible reading. One passage of Scripture is the 23rd Psalm. Now, it's no surprise that this is one of the most recognized passages in all the Scriptures. It's beautiful, poetic, and comforting. It's also a powerful reflection on God's goodness. Psalm 23 identifies many wonderful elements of God's care that we might normally take for granted or fail to recognize. David recognizes elements like God's provision, I shall not want, spiritual renewal, he restores my soul. His discipline, your rod and staff, they comfort me. And his protection, you prepare a table before me in the presence of my enemies. We're often tempted to take credit for precious moments of comfort, care, tranquility, and victory in our lives. But it's important to recognize the loving hand of God's providence in our lives. And then we have Psalm 118, 28-29. You are my God, and I will give thanks to you. You are my God, I will extol you. This is the day that the Lord has made. Let us rejoice and be glad in it. Any particular Israelites' relationship to God was seen in light of God's relationship to them as a nation. Each individual Israelite was part of God's chosen people, a holy nation, and they saw themselves as recipients of God's promises to Israel. After acknowledging all the benefits of placing trust in God over men and rulers, reminding themselves of the Lord's deliverance and salvation, the Israelites focus on their personal gratitude for God's corporate care. Western Christianity often focuses on individual salvation and relationship with God. What would change if we express thankfulness for God's work in the church and not just in our lives? It could have a very dramatic impact. I'd like to draw attention to the scripture passage that Lenore read for us so well, by the way, Lenore. In verse 12, since God chose you to be the holy people he loves, you must clothe yourselves with tender-hearted mercy, kindness, humility, gentleness, and patience. Then further in the passage it says, above all, clothe yourselves with love, which binds us all together in perfect harmony. Now that's some wardrobe, don't you think? Wow. I just was picturing my own wardrobe and I think, do I have kindness in there? Do I have humility and tender-hearted mercy and love? What do I need to let go of in my closet and make room for this? Because it's sort of like, it's not even a suggestion. It's like, you must do this. And so, not that I don't want to be kind, that's for sure. So, just that reassurance that, yeah, this is what God wants for us, God has for us, and actually it's already within us. It's bringing that out. To me, those are lovely gifts of gratitude. I received a journal from a friend several years ago. There were quotes throughout its pages. One of them really resonated with me. It said, gratitude is born in the hearts that take time to count up past mercies. Lamentations remind us that not only is God's mercy never-ending, it's renewable. We're not living off yesterday's provision. And knowing that God is extending fresh grace cultivates gratitude and a reinvigorated conviction to walk in God's ways. Diana Butler Bass, author of the book entitled Grateful, The Transformative Power of Giving Thanks, says this: "It's not easy to live through the mysteries of pain, injustice, illness, and violence. We humans rightly rage against these indignities, those things that work against joy, love, and peace. For decades, I wrestled with shame and hatred against my uncle. Those emotions were exacerbated by other incidents where I was rejected, hurt, or felt violated. The negative feelings were powerful, sometimes driving the train to what felt like the edge of an emotional cliff. Gratitude does not take that away. Gratefulness is not a panacea against violence and injustice. Yet my soul suspected there might be a path beyond rage, a way of gratitude to enfold the pain in a greater good." These words from spiritual writer Henry Nouwen spoke to her. To be grateful for the good things that happen in our lives, the good as well as the bad, the moments of joy as well as the moments of sorrow, the successes as well as the failures, the rewards as well as the rejections. That requires hard spiritual work. Still, we are only truly grateful when we can say thank you to all that has brought us to this present moment. As long as we keep dividing our lives between events and people we would like to remember, and people we would like to remember, and those we would like to forget, we cannot claim the fullness of our beings as a gift of God to be grateful for. She goes on to say that gratitude at its deepest and perhaps most transformative level is not warm feelings about what we have. Instead, gratitude is a deep ability to embrace the gift of who we are, and that we are. That in the multi-billion-year history of the universe, each one of us is born, can love, grows in awareness, and has a story. Life is the gift. When that mystery fills our hearts, it overwhelms us, and a deep river of emotions flows forth. Feelings we barely knew we were capable of holding. Alex Bazin, I think most of you know who Alex is, some of you may not. He's a member of our congregation. He just celebrated 1 year as a double lung transplant recipient. So, how is he celebrating? By expressing gratitude for the donor and the donor's family, and by fundraising for cystic fibrosis. Here are his words. December 27th, awoke on such a meaningful day to me. I think about how so many families have come together for the holidays and into the new year, and it warms my heart, as well as saddens it. Because 1 year ago this day, a stranger to me, but now more a part of me than ever, had lost their life. And now I can carry mine on through because of receiving a pair of young, healthy lungs. Mine were to this point of failure, to the point of failure. I had only mere months to live. It's also an exciting day because at the 1 year mark, they sent a letter that I wrote to the donor's family. Alex has shared this letter on his Facebook page. And he goes on to say, I'm making this post not to boast or get attention, but to raise awareness to become a donor. It saves lives every day. Just ask yourself, if you were in need and wouldn't you want that option? Also, wouldn't you want to live on through someone else by making another family, possibly numerous families, not lose a family member as well? Anna Mae LaPointe shows gratitude every year for her son, Aaron, who left this world too soon. She began Aaron's journey in his memory. Aaron lived on the street for a period of time. This sparked something in Anna Mae as she grieved the loss of her son. She started asking for donations to support her ministry to street people. And this was in 2006 she started doing this. She raises funds in order to purchase supplies and basic needs as well as a few gifts. They are then packed into cinch bags and handed out just a few weeks before Christmas. And if any of you don't know, this actually happens here at Central. The bags get packed here and they get sent out from here. Many are blessed each year by this generous, tangible act of compassion and kindness. And I know that Anne thanks everyone who participated in this beautiful ministry. They're given to street people and to recovery centers as well. One side of a spiritually vital community is naturally occurring expressions of thanksgiving. Now today we have put some cards over at the card signing table, and feel free to take one home. And this week maybe make some time to send a note of gratitude to someone. Today we also have our gratitude board in the hospitality lounge. You are invited to write on a sticky note what or who you are grateful for. We've started putting them in a lovely gratitude journal, which I believe is over there as well. So I found 7 scientifically proven benefits of gratitude. I know there's many more. These are the ones that I chose. I'm sure you have your own. Gratitude opens the door to more relationships. Improves physical health, psychological health, enhances empathy and reduces aggression, helps people sleep better, improves self-esteem, and increases mental strength. Today we have our gratitude board, as I mentioned. And my challenge for you as I close this morning is to write something that you are grateful for that doesn't directly affect